So the main takeaway from this video is there are about 1,000,000 resources that are going to be thrown your way whenever you start medical school. It's important. What's good, YouTube? It's Christina back at you with another video. Thanks so much for joining. This video will be about resources and things that I just wish I knew before I started, because literally I just went in blind and just hope for the best. And I don't want you guys to be like me. I've learned a few things along the way, I would like to think, and I wanted to share those with you. So when you get to med school, there will just be a tremendous amount of information and a tremendous amount of resources, and each med student is going to tell you something different. So it can be very difficult to navigate what resources you should use, how you should use them, and this video is just an introduction to some of those resources they may tell you about in ways that I find helpful to use them. First off, I think it's important to know what kind of learner you are. Are you auditory? Are you visual? Do you like to talk things out? Do you need to watch a video about it? This is something that I think you should reflect on before med school starts so that you have some sort of idea what type of resources you may want to use. If you're a repetitive learner, you should use flashcards. If you're visual, maybe you need a video. If you're auditory, don't forget about podcasts, because this is something that I didn't even like. I was like, what? You guys are using podcasts? Like, that's dope. Okay, so let's jump into some resources that you will hear med students using. First and foremost, Anki. You are gonna hear this word so much. It sounds annoying right now, but you'll get used to it and you'll just be like, Anki, Anki, Anki. Anki is a spaced repetition tool. Anki is good for review. Some students will use Anki as their primary source of learning, and to each his own. If you're using Anki as your primary source, you may want to make your cards more detailed, or you're only gonna know just like what the card told you. You're only going to know small bits of information about a lot of things. The thing is, Anki can be a lot, and you might want to find someone within your med school, maybe an upperclassman, that knows how to set you up. If you go on Reddit, there are a lot of forums of people talking about Anki and effective ways to use it and how to set it up, and I think that is a great resource that you should look into now before school gets started. So another resource that you will hear so many people talking about is Boards and Beyond, and this is basically videos that explain common topics in medical school. Whatever you're talking about, there's probably a Boards and Beyond video that correlates, and I think it's a great place to start. I would watch these videos before you go to lecture, so find out what the lecture is going to be about, and then find a Boards and Beyond or even YouTube video to just kind of get your feet wet and help you store things more effectively as you're listening to lecture. The other thing is YouTube. Like, there are so many resources on YouTube, so don't sleep on YouTube. It didn't click for me that I could just watch YouTube videos in medical school for an embarrassing amount of time. Like, don't forget about YouTube as a resource. There are a lot of good things here. Another thing that I use, which is subscription based, is USMLE RX. And this USMLE is the writers of the test for the board certification exams. They have this resource, which is online. They have videos, they have flashcards, they have little summaries about different topics that you may be learning about, and it's something that is very helpful and also comprehensive, because they have videos, they have flashcards, they have first aid as well, an online version of first aid, which I'll get into that in a minute, which is just all in one place for you to use. So it does cost, but I think it's a very valuable resource. What I love about USMLE RX are their learning bricks. They call them bricks. They have basically just like articles about different topics that you may be learning about in school, and the language is just so familiar. It literally just feels like you're having a conversation with someone who's telling you about the topic. Okay, so let's talk about first aid. First Aid is an amazing book, but it's all how you use it. First Aid is a board review book. It is by USMLE, and it is meant to be used as you review for your step 1 exam. So it is not a comprehensive source by any means, but they do have really high yield topics that you can use to just start. So the best way to use first aid is kind of like I was recommending for boards and beyond. You can start with first aid before lectures and just review what the topic is about, just kind of get a summary of what you might hear during lecture. So start with first aid to get a general understanding, and then you go into your more detailed sources, but it is not meant to be your main source of information. Okay, so with that being said, we've talked about Anki, we've talked about boards and beyond, and first aid. So how do you use them? The great thing is you can use Anki to review things that you have seen in boards and beyond and first aid. So before lecture, you want to go in your first aid book or watch a boards and beyond video, get a general understanding, you view the lecture, you get more detail from other sources. You can go into Anki and release cards on the topics that you viewed in first aid and boards and beyond. If you download the right decks, there will be boards and beyond decks that you can release to review the video that you watched. This is something that I didn't learn until I think block 2 or 3 later in the game, but you guys are going to have the advantage because you watched this video. The other thing with first aid is that you can also annotate in your first aid book. I was talking to another student about this. We just wanted to keep our first aid books looking like new, but literally it's yours and you can write in it. The things that med students have as revelations is just quite hilarious. So med school is about using resources effectively. It is about effective studying, effective learning. There is so much information in med school that if you aren't organized and if you aren't using your resources effectively, you're gonna fall behind. So it can be stressful to try to get your regimen down, try to get your study schedule and what things you're gonna use and how you're gonna use them down. So I'm hoping that this video will be very helpful to you guys. That being said, a lot of med students have file shares. They have resources that they've been using that they just keep passing down from class to class. So find you an upperclassman and get that drive, honey. If you don't have an external hard drive, you need that for med school. That should be on your shopping list. The other thing is free trials, free trials, free trials. Start with a resource, use their free trial, use that resource in every way possible to see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, no harm, no foul. You don't have to buy it, but it's something great to look into. Before you buy anything, check to see if they have a free trial. So the main takeaway from this video is there are about 1 million resources that are going to be thrown your way whenever you start medical school. It's important to start with 1 or 2 of those resources and use them effectively. Use them in every way that they can be used, but start with 1 or 2 at a time. I was very overwhelmed with the amount of things that I was just unorganized and not using things effectively. So if you get nothing else from this video, studying effectively is the most important thing that you can do in medical school to ensure your success. Don't forget to be patient with yourself during this process. It is an adjustment to go from undergrad studying to med school studying. It's quite different. So give yourself some grace throughout the process. You are going to do great. I'm so excited for you guys. Let me know what other videos that you want to see, and I will see you in the next one.